Now, from the nation's capital, here's the Pentagon Channel's ATS in brief.
5 years ago, America was changed by terrorist attacks in New York, Pennsylvania, and at the Pentagon. Those horrific events not only led to the war on terror, but also caused a surge in patriotism in the U.S. Many men and women joined the armed services in order to protect the country and rid the world of terror. Today, millions of Americans are taking time out to remember those who died September 11, 2001, and the service members who have given their lives defending freedom. The evening's final tribute was to those lost at the Pentagon and aboard the plane which struck it. 70 lights projected 184 beams, one for each life lost, into the sky.
You will see her shine from miles and miles away. Tonight, the mighty fortress we call the Pentagon is all aglow.
The Pentagon lighting is going to mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. It's going to have a patriotic feel, it's going to have an emotional feel, it's going to have a memorial type of a feel. And we can make all that happen with light.
Just as two powerful beams of light shone from the World Trade Center in the days following the terrorist attack, tonight they light the Pentagon.
So this is just a cue of blue and white. One blue and one white for each side of the Pentagon.
And while you normally catch these, the brightest lights in the world for the entertainment industry, at light shows for the Super Bowl, concerts, and the streets of Las Vegas, 9/11 brought with it a new venue and a new use for this unusual art.
I think that's why we're here now, is because what we did at the World Trade Center, we usually do everything that we do as entertainment. This is one of the first times that we actually built something around an emotional feel. So we learned a lot 5 years ago, and again, now that's built up to where we are right now.
These powerful lights will flank the Pentagon's inner courtyard tonight. That's more than 500,000 watts burning bright. But this spectacular show is more than a technical display meant to awe. These bright lights are here to honor the 184 innocent victims who lost their lives here on that fateful September day. Tech Sergeant Rusty Barfield, Pentagon Channel News.
The Commander-in-Chief started this day of remembrance in New York. President Bush, with First Lady Laura Bush at his side, observed 2 moments of silence for the victims of the attacks on the World Trade Center. One at 8:46, the time the first plane hit, and the other at 9:03, the time when the second plane struck the second tower 5 years ago. President Bush and Mrs. Bush also took part in a wreath-laying ceremony Sunday where the World Trade Center once stood. The first couple placed 2 wreaths, one for each fallen tower at Ground Zero. Following events in New York, the Commander-in-Chief and First Lady traveled to Shanksville, Pennsylvania, the crash site of United Airlines Flight 93, for a wreath-laying ceremony there. 40 passengers and crew died in the crash of that hijacked airliner after they stormed the cockpit door. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld hosted a 9/11 Remembrance Monday at the Pentagon. Vice President Dick Cheney and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Peter Pace joined the Secretary. Secretary Rumsfeld paid tribute to those who have lost their lives in the war on terror as he spoke to service members and 100 family members of 9/11 victims.
We remember each of those who came to work here at the Pentagon on that bright September morning, but did not come home. And we remember the men and women in uniform who have stepped forward to serve our country and have lost their lives in our defense in the 5 years since.
The 5-year mark of 9/11 stirs up emotions for some service members in Iraq. One soldier we spoke to was in New York that day working as a New York City police officer. First Sergeant Vincent Magnon says thinking about 9/11 makes a big impact on what service members are doing today.
Every soldier over here, whether it's Iraq or Afghanistan, it's going to add a little bit of extra motivation, I'm sure, and hopefully carry them down the stretch for their deployment so they can complete their year over here and do the best they can for the Army or whatever branch they're in, because it's all a joint effort over here.
Soldiers stationed in the Afghan capital of Kabul unveiled a plaque commemorating the 9/11 victims and placed a wreath at its base. Major David Steffens was at the Pentagon the day the terrorists struck and recalled the chaos after the attack.
We got outside further, we were running across people that had been been injured and scared. There was more people that were scared than anything else. People just didn't know what was going on, and when you could see the smoke and the flames from the other side of the Pentagon.
The U.S. commander in Afghanistan, Lieutenant General Carl Eikenberry, says there has been much progress in the country since U.S. troops arrived there 5 years ago. He added American troops will remain in Afghanistan until the Afghan people tell us our job is done. Around 15,000 people registered for the America Supports You Freedom Walk in Washington, D.C. on Sunday. It was just one of more than 100 freedom walks planned in each of the 50 states, marking the 5 years since the 9/11 attacks. In Washington, the procession ended at the 9/11 Memorial Site, where participants heard a musical tribute by the Navy Band and celebrated mezzo-soprano Denise Graves.
Oh, beautiful for patriot dreams that sees beyond the years.
You can see more of the day's ceremonies along with the Pentagon Channel's complete coverage of the Washington, D.C. Freedom Walk and Memorial Concert at pentagonchannel.mil. For the Pentagon Channel, I'm Army Sergeant Lee McMahon.
It will be a great pleasure to walk with all of you from here to the Pentagon tonight. This will be a walk from here to a certain point on the map, but it is also a walk from here into the future.
So you've just pulled this whole town together?
Yes.
Now how many people do you have walking?
1,650.
Well, that's amazing. And do you plan to host another one next year?
Yes.
We are here, 2.4 million strong, to tell those terrorists not on our watch.
Leave it behind. You've got to leave it behind. All that you fashion, all that you make, all that you build, and all that you break, all that you measure, all that you deal, or you count on 2 fingers, and all that you steal.
We appreciate the Pentagon Channel too greatly for supporting the Freedom Walk and everything they do.
I think that that is what we do when we have a crisis. We come together as a country and we fix things and we heal each other, and I think that's one of the things this walk has done.